Hello there, guys. Welcome back. We're gonna start working now with the render passes setup. Right. Okay. What do I mean when I say render passes? Right. So if I render this image now here, let's go quicker here. So I'll show you here. You get this image, right? It's all together. You got the floor. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. You don't have a background because we didn't make the light visible to the camera. You know how to do that. But the moment I have all together, okay? So I have the diffuse components, the reflection component, the refraction component, the surface scattering component all together. The shadows as well, all together. So how about I want to have that stuff separately? So what you have to do is create the passes, okay? So every time you render an image within any of these new rendering software, you have the ability to break down your image in all the components. Okay, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. What the component you can see. But at the moment, all I have is I think I'm going to stop here. Just going to cancel this. You got red, green, blue, and alpha channels. Okay, so if I think go here into, let me here again view. I think channel. You see, is RGA is RGB, SDF. G, so S, D, F, G are the components here. So if I press A, is all of them. S is the red channel. D is the green channel, F is the blue channel, and G is the alpha. You see the black and white image that we talked about, okay, in class, the famous alpha. Okay, so I press A again, it's all together. Okay, in Nuke is RGBA, here is ASDFG, so they want to be different, so that's fine. But at the same time, what it means is if I press S, this is the red channel, but all the stuff is in there. You see, I can still see refraction, I can still see diffuse here on the floor, I can still see the surface scattering, I can still see the metallic stuff. Okay, so how about I want to do each one of the components specifically. I want to say all the reflections in one channel, all the surface scattering on a channel, all the diffuse, all the specularity, all the refraction, all the background, the floor, everything in a single channel. Then we need to set this up with channels, okay, with passes. So I'm gonna go back, press A, go back to this, and I'm just gonna minimize this here quickly. So how do I set that up? All you have to do is, if I go here into RenderMan and I click here on Advanced RenderMan Controls, if I click here and then I go here into Final and then I go here into Output, yeah, and I open this, you go this channel here, which is the RGBA. This is the image that when you hit batch render, it will save an image. We have red, green, and blue, and alpha, and it's in OpenEXR. The file name and stuff, it will take it here from the globals, which is, I call it here LPE test, and you can see here where it's going to be saved. This is when I set up the project. This is the file name. Because it's a single image, then it will only be a single image. We'll put here name and extension with a single image, so it will be a single image OpenEXR. So I go here into Final, I go here again into Output, and at the moment whatever I render, I'm going to render red, green, and blue, and alpha. But I want to render the stuff here. So what I do is I click this button here, Add Channels and Output, okay? And I'm going to go here into this called LPE. LPE means light, I think it's light, I can't remember actually. So pretty much these are the passes. I will let you know later what I call it. At the back of my head now I can't remember, which is, I think it's light partition expression, or light passes expression. I can't remember what it is, but anyway. So you see here, you go like these LPs, which are the presets. Initially I used to call AOV, so arbitrary output variables. Now it's called LPEs. So which means I can take stuff separately in different channels. So just remember that EXR or OpenEXR, you can store more information in this channel. You can put red, green, and blue, and alpha as well. You can put a lot of stuff within. I think by now I should have shown you what they look like based on one of my projects. I think in the dummy sort of project folder that I sent you, that is one of the images for one of the projects I worked before, so it should be all there. So I should have explained that by now here, so I'm just gonna quickly go here. So I'm gonna put, for example, the diffuse. So I'm gonna say here, select the diffuse. I'm gonna here right click and I say create output from channel. So if I click here, you go RGB, this is all together. So I go RGB and I go one called here LPE diffuse, and it has the LPE diffuse channel. Okay, so I have that. So I can rename these guys, and I'm gonna call these passes. Okay, passes. And now I have this guy here, LPE diffuse. Now if I render now, let's see if it happens. You can see now that you have this little arrow here. This little arrow means that you have the channels rendered out. So at the moment I have this image, which is everything inside, and now I have here in the passes this stuff. Look at this. You go here, passes, and you have the diffuse. Now look what happened with the metal. The metal, just remember what I explained to you in the theory. The metal doesn't have a diffuse component really. It's pure metal because all the color comes from the reflections. Surface scattering has diffuse because I set out the diffuse and the surface scattering component. I'll show you in a minute. The color, or the red color here, which is the diffuse, I put in the diffuse component on the plastic, is red, so that's what it comes out here. And the floor, the diffuse, comes out as the actual texture. So where do you get this diffuse from? So I stop this here. If I'm going, for example, to the metal here, the metal, if you go into diffuse here, it has nothing, no color and gain. The gain is 0. If you pump this out, obviously it will have color, but a true color here, a true metal shouldn't have any color. So this is disabled. That's why it comes out black like this. Now the next one, which is surface scattering, it does have the component. It has some color in the diffuse. Okay. So which is, I think it's the color comes from, I'm gonna show you here one sec. It says color here diffuse, but I think the color mostly comes from, I think this color here. So I think it has to, it's a bit more complicated. It has to do with the actual wavelength which are reflected back. That's why it looks like this when you actually go the red there. But if I switch off, for example, this guy, probably it will be different here. And if I render, let me see if I render comes out again, it should be black. So now here, LP altogether, you see now it's different because I think before was like that, but I switch over. Now if I go to LP, it still does it. I think it still works because I think it's part of the component. So anyway, so that's fine. But at the moment, it doesn't make any difference just in the views, but it doesn't change here. I'm just gonna put a little bit there. So anyway, so that's fine. You got the computer. This pretty much the color of the diffuse comes from this section here. So it is working because it has to be done with a surface scatter. I don't know why the other one doesn't do it. But anyway, here the plastic, you got the red color. So that's why it comes diffuse. The refraction, you can see the glass, and the diffuse is off. That's why it's black. All the color of the refraction comes here. Sorry, from the glass. So that's why it appears black. So that component only works with these two guys and this, because they all have, this guy here, it has in the diffuse, you see, you go a texture and it has a gain all the way to 1, so that's why it comes out there. Now let's do another one. So I'll go here, advanced random control. Where are you? Is it here? There you go. So you go there, and I'm gonna select this guy. You see this guy, I'm gonna select it here. Don't select this guy, which is the buses, and then I'm gonna go here and select this guy and right click and say create output, add channel to select the output. So if I click here, give me a ring here. So now LP Specular is added to this. So now if I render again, now I will have two. I will have the original image, I will have the component here, and I will have this one Specular. Now Specular is the reflections, diffuse is the color. So Specular, you see, now I have Specular from the metal. I have specularity in the surface scattering. I have a specularity in here, and a specularity as well, obviously in the glass, and a specularity here as well on the floor. Okay, so all these guys should have a specular component on in this pixel surface. So let's check it out. So you got this guy here. Obviously, all the color comes from the primary here, so it's all connected. Works. This guy still, you cannot see it much, but you can see that it's a bit of color here, edge color, so it is working. This guy here as well, it has some stuff because it comes with a reflection, and the specularity here, it has, I think it has some stuff here as well. The refraction index, I think this guy, even though it's switched off, I think it comes from all the glass here, so it does pick it up. So it has to do a bit more with the how the system works within RenderMan. But the floor here definitely has a primary specular component. You see, you got a texture here connected, so they're all connected there. So you go here, now we have this guy color, we have this guy now, which is the color. You can see now here, you can appreciate the scratchy things inside the metal. You can see the roughness map that I connected and the roughness map connected here, so it breaks out the stuff, so it looks more interesting. So now I have this. Obviously, if you want to see better this, you can go into here. I think it's going to command view, and I think what is it, tool to monitor adjustment. I think here you can bring the exposure up and down, similar what you do in Nuke. I think it's control square bracket. So you press control square bracket, you see you can pump it out. You can even see the reflections here. This guy is tinted with the color of the glass. Obviously at the moment you cannot see it because it's being gammaed down, but if you want to bring it down, so you can just, this is the original and this is, so let's see here, so this is like that, this is like this, yeah. So you can see it there, okay? So now we have two components, diffuse and specular. So if I plus these two things together inside Nuke, it will give me the original image, only the diffuse and the specular. Obviously the small component, you got the indirect diffuse, blah blah blah, all that stuff, refraction. At the moment we haven't output a channel for just for just the subsurface and for just the glass. Now if I want to add that, I need to go into advanced render my controls. Again, it's here somewhere, and I'm gonna make this guy. Make sure this guy is selected, and I hear this one here called subsurface. Right click here, add channel to selected output. So it's added to this guy. Because if you say this and say create output from channel, it will create an extra file. So when you render, you will have one file with all together, another file with this stuff, and another file with just the subsurface. So if you have nothing selected here, so you create here a channel from select output. You are create output here. You select this guy, say add channels to the actual output, which is this one called passes. So I'm gonna add subsurface. I'm gonna add another one here called reflection. Add channel to select the output. No, I got nothing selected here, so that's why it doesn't do it. Now you can, where is that? So here, add channel to select the output. Let me close this and open again, see if it picks it up. Yeah, it picked it up, it just didn't refresh for some reason. But anyway, so you go here now, specular, sorry, diffuse, specular, subsurface, and refraction. So now if I render, now we'll have 4 entries here. We have the original image, and we have the subsurface. You see, it only appears on this guy because this is the only guy who has the subsurface component. Okay, and you have the diffuse, which is this guy. So you plus this, plus the red, it will give you the final look of this image. Plus, you remember this guy as well has specularity. It's just very subtle. You can probably see a little bit here. You can see there are some specularity here. You see a little bit of specularity. And the refraction only appears on this guy because refraction is glass. So it only appears here. So you plus this, plus specular, it gives you this look. You don't need diffuse. If you go into the diffuse component, you see it's black. There's no diffuse component. Okay, so that's the original. Again, you go subsurface, you go diffuse, you go specular, and you go refraction. Okay, so now we can add more. There's another one that you normally add when you're working this stuff, and it's the depth. Okay, and the depth has to do with the depth of field. Okay, so you can create depth of field here. So if you go into the camera and then select the camera, you can just go here into the section, say depth of field, tick it here, and then tick it in the render, and you will get depth of field. Things are in the foreplane, it's gonna be blur depending on this setting, and the things in the background are gonna be blur. Okay, but that stuff, because it's blur, it needs to have a lot of subsampling, so it takes longer to render. So what you normally do is you create that effect in post. You can do depth of field in post production, and in post production you can do depth of field in Nuke very easily. All you need is a channel called the Z channel or the depth channel. Okay, we're gonna explain that in class anyway. So in order to get the depth channel running, just go into renderman, you go into advanced renderman controls, and it's here, minimize, and it doesn't appear here in the common LPEs because it's not part of the custom LPEs here. It appears in the standard ones, and the standard is all the way here, which is called float Z. So if you select this guy again, right click and says add channel to select the output, now you got it here, float Z. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this, and I'm just going to go another render, see what happens. Okay, so now I have again, I have one subsurface, you go diffuse, you go Z. Now Z looks very white, and the reason for that is because Z, what it is it will tell you for each I'm going to cancel this, for each pixel that you have here on the screen, it will give you a number, and that number will be the distance that pixel is from the camera. So here we'll say it's 20 units, so this will be 20, and then 21, 22, 23, 24, then 30, 31, so all the way to the end. I'm just giving you an arbitrary number, but it could be more than that. It's pretty much in Maya units. So if this pixel here, this little geometry, or this little face is 20 units from this from the camera, then this guy will be probably 30, and then this 40, and this 50. Okay, and it does it for every single one of the pixels. So if I hit render again, and that's why the render appears black, because the numbers go beyond 1. So here this one only show 1 from 0 to 1. So you go again, you go subsurface, diffuse, specular, refraction. Now set, if you want to see set, we can just exposure down. So you press control and then the square bracket, you exposure it down all the way. You can start seeing, you see? You can start seeing this guy. You see how this guy here is darkest because it's closer to the camera, and this guy is grayish because it's further away, and the more the pixel go away from the camera, the lighter they will go. All the way here is very light because this is pretty much infinity. So there is nothing in the background, so you can say whatever here is going to be the 10,000 units, whatever. You're going to cap at some point. But here, and that's how you can tell in Nuke. It says if you put the plane to be in focus here, this tab will be out of focus, this tab will be out of focus, and then this is the only guy who will be in focus. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that, and then obviously if you go to any other, it will be very dark because we put the exposures all the way down. So we need to bring the exposure up. So press control, square bracket, we bring it up. Okay, but I think it's around here is the right exposure. Okay, and I think if you want to analyze what pixels are showing, I think you can go into display view. I think somewhere here, tools. Somewhere here is a pixel that tells you how much is the pixel information. Commands, pixel readout, I think. Yeah, if you click this button here, window, pixel readout, and then whatever you hover around here, you can see in the bottom here how the pixel is. So you go X, Y, which is the coordinate, and then this is the red, green, blue, and alpha channel. If I click here, it would tell me, you see the, for example, here the alpha is 1. You can see here in this channel here. You see how it's white, and then all the way here, boom, is black because this is the alpha. You press G, that's the alpha. You see. You go white, you go black, and you go into the edge. There's gonna be a point that is gonna be filtered out. You see. You go white, and then suddenly it gives you a little bit, probably 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, 0. So that's the edge. Okay, so I press A for all. The same goes with this guy here with Z. You see, nothing happened, but look at the numbers. The numbers are ridiculous. They're 100. So I'm gonna press Control square bracket so I can see. You see here, this guy. By the way, when I press Control square bracket, I'm not actually changing the values of the number of the information. All I'm doing is adjusting it so I can see in the viewport the information, because obviously the numbers are too big that you cannot actually see it. So you go here, you see this face here, for example. You see how the numbers changes. For example, if you go here, let's go to the tail here. This number here is 90, and then suddenly it jumps to 102. Then they go further away from the tail. It starts increasing the number, which means the tail is going further and further away from this. The same happened with the floor. Look at the numbers in the floor: 78, 80, 90, 90, 112, 100, 200, 200, and then boom, it reaches to 1 to the power of 10 to the power of 20 or 38. I think pretty much infinite. This is the infinite number, or a float. So it means that that number there is way too big to display. So because there's nothing in the background, if I have a background here, then it will tell me how far that thing is. Let's say a sky or whatever, and it would tell me how, or the building will tell you how this building is 300 units away. So based on that information, Nuke can read that information and then tell you where you can put the focus, and if it's in the front or the back, and you can do that. And I'll show you how to do that inside Nuke. So at the moment you can see that information is there, and the beauty about this is that this is EXR. EXR can store multiple channels in a single file, plus it can store things or numbers that are bigger than 1. Just remember that JPEGs only save from 0 to 1 or from 0 to 255 levels of gray. Here with EXR you can go as high as you want, and you can see and there's something called HDRI, or high dynamic range imaging. So that's where you can, they're all coming in EXR or HDR, because you can store a number greater than 1. Okay. Right, okay, I think I'm gonna probably add few more at the moment. Let me see. Let me bring this back up like this. Again, I'm not changing the values. I'm only just adjusting it to the viewport, to the screen in this case. So I'm gonna go here and add few of them, and then I'm gonna explain what they are before we wrap this up. And I think what I'm gonna add here, I'm gonna add in the LPEs, I'm gonna add the indirect ones. I think it's indirect diffuse. So I'm gonna select this guy. I'm gonna press here. Indirect specular. I think it's indirect. You go refraction. Yeah, indirect diffuse, indirect specular. Any of these stuff? Diffuse? No, that stuff should be fine. So I say create output. Add channels to select the outputs. That will be passes. You see now this guy has the other two. So if I render again, now I will have more. I will have this guy here, which is diffuse. Now the indirect diffuse is next one, which is this. So in pretty much what it does, this is the diffuse. This is the light bouncing, or the color bouncing back at the camera directly from the light. This one here is the color bouncing back. For example, this color here is the color bleeding from the actual screen. It's pretty much the two bounces. And the same with the specular. So the direct specular is this, which is the specular that comes from the light. This is the specular from the reflection map from the IVL, or the image-based lighting. In this case, the Pixar Dome. And this one, this is the first bounce, so directly. This one is the indirect specular. It's the reflection from the floor. So this is the specularity. The first is the reflection from the light, and this is the reflection from the floor. And this one got reflection from the floor as well. And you can see here they go an extra reflection from the red, which means that the stuff is reflecting itself, because this here is like a chicken, and it got a little bit of reflection. So this reflects, the light reflects here, the floor reflects here, and the actual cheek reflects back here red as well. Okay, and the same here, you happen how this red is being, you can probably see here in the reflection of the glass how this red shape here, and that pretty much is the reflection of this model on there, because it's been reflected there. Okay, and then probably this reflection here is a reflection from the glass that goes all the way there. And this here as well, the reflection of itself, the actual reflection within the metal. The same goes here. This reflection here that you see is the actual face or stuff that has been reflected on top of itself. So it's an inner reflection. Okay, so the same happened I think here, and that this reflection probably could be from the actual tail, or probably the same reflection here, but the same goes here, the reflection of itself, which is the glass. So this is the indirect reflection. The refraction is just one bounce, and the subsurface one, and the specular, which is the direct. This is direct from the light, and this is indirect, and that's the reflection from the environment. Okay, the same way diffuse. This is diffuse, and this is the indirect diffuse, which is the reflection from the actual environment. So how much color is bleeding from the environment back into the actual model. Okay, you can probably see here that there is a color, a little bit of red bleeding here, and that's the red coming from here that is bleeding into the actual floor. Okay, so okay, that's it for now, guys. I'm gonna probably stop this now here, and then I'm gonna render this image. It might be a bit noisy, so I'm gonna let it render, and then I'm gonna probably show you how to render this stuff, which I'm pretty sure you already know by now. You just have to hit the batch render, and it will put the file in there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the file, and I'm gonna bring it into Nuke, and I'm gonna show you how to put all this stuff together and then manipulate the image. But before that, we're gonna add an extra tutorial here, and that's gonna be on matte IDs, and then we're gonna do the rendering. Okay, so the matte IDs will allow me to isolate these images individually. Okay, so I can tweak, for example, this panther without, I can tweak the specularity of this panther without touching the specularity, for example, the plastic or the glass or the floor. Okay, so thank you very much for this, guys, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you. Bye bye.